Hello fellow preppers, this is our survival chicken coop. It was designed to be predator proof, inexpensive to build, could be constructed depending on if you did one section, 2, or 3 like we did, in any kind of space, whether you're rural, which you should be if you're a self-reliant person. Anybody can live in a rural area. You can work online, doctors aren't that far apart. Promise me, put it in the comments, I'll help you figure it out. Let's get you somewhere to live that's good. But anyway, you can build it in one section, 2, or 3. And we opted to connect ours together so that the chickens and ducks and the guineas can have a run. The whole bottom side they can traverse. The top sides are separate, and we did that because I want to use the middle one as a brooder and a place to put an injured bird, quarantine a bird that's sick but not contagious. So they cannot get access that way. But if these were not connected the way that we did, they would be immediately portable. Even though they're connected, it would only take maybe 5 minutes to disconnect them. Adam, you want to explain how that the 3 are connected together and how you could take them apart?
Yeah, with connecting them together on this side, where there was a width difference in here, I took boards and ran them across and screwed them on each side. That way they would stay stable in that spot, and I put hardware cloth over it to make sure that nothing would be able to get inside it. Pretty much did the same thing here, except they were the same width, so I was able to just put boards up against it and screw it on there. That way there's no gap whatsoever and there's no possibility of anything getting in.
And the top part, we used sheet metal. We didn't leave it all in one sheet. We didn't have any that was that long. We probably could have covered 2 or 1.5, but we cut the sheet metal so it fits individually on each one, so you don't have to take it apart. You would need a power drill, or on this one section, maybe just a hammer or a pry bar to take the sides off to disconnect, a couple screws out, and you already have boards pre-cut that can fit your ends and close them back up, so when you moved them, you could shoe your birds to one side and quickly screw in a board to keep them in on the end, and then you have individualized portable chicken coops. Now, when these weren't connected, Adam could lift them pretty easily. How much do you think the larger section, these first two here were freebies, and Adam retrofitted this when we made some flap doors at the bottom so that they could have access to get out of it. On the one he built from scratch for us, we simplified it and made double-decker doors. That way it was easy to get in to clean and get your eggs, and it saved on time and hardware. When you lifted them, you could lift them straight up, and you could have tilted it back and held it for 10 minutes by yourself. How much do you think they weigh?
All together?
Yeah. Well, no, just one section, like the one you built.
The one that I built probably only weighs 60, 70 pounds.
So that's not too much for one person to be able to lift up, but to carry it, it would take 2, maybe 3. But you can make them portable also by turning them into a chicken tractor. And if you didn't have them connected, you can use it as a chicken tractor, pull it around your survival homestead, so they're feeding themselves, which is healthier and it's cheaper. Use little tractor tires and retractable wheels. So we would get the little metal pieces for the tires,
yep,
and those would sit right on the outside frame of the chicken, of the rabbit hutch that's now a chicken coop. So they would rest there. They would be out of the road until you open the door. You need to kind of flip them straight up to open your door, but then you would just flip them out, and you could put maybe barn staples on the side to put your tow rope on. Would that be the easiest way? I mean, you could build it so you already had a tongue and groove thing for a hitch, yeah, if you wanted to, but you could just connect a tow rope or a tow chain on it by clasping around some barn staples and tie that onto your hitch, and you're off and pulling it. What size tractor do you think it would take to pull one of these sections like the one you built? Could that Kubota behind you pull it?
That little Kubota could pull it easily.
Okay, what about a typical riding mower somebody might have? They have small acreage, like 5 acres or something.
A riding mower would pull it too.
Okay. How much time did it take? Tell us a little bit about the materials that went into the one that you built, since it was from scratch. Not everybody's going to have luck into freebie rabbit hutches.
Pretty much it's all recycled 2x4s that you previously had. And then the hardware cloth on the inside and on the doors, and chicken wire on the outside, and then barnwood boards over that to add more protection. Other than that, it's the hinges and the latches. That's really, that and hardware cloth's the only thing that needed to be bought.
Okay, and inside we have the little ladder so the birds can go up and down from the first floor to the second. Can you give a little description about how you built the frames on the doors on the front? We have some pictures in the article, but a few tips on building the doors.
I took a real wide barnwood door or board, and I put 1 1/4 inch marks all the way up it, and took a circular saw and cut it. That way they were kind of thin, and put the strips on the sides, and then put 2x4s in that in the middle of them to make it more sturdy.
Was that similar to how you did these little flaps here? Let's see if we can move again. Because for somebody who has a rabbit hutch, or even if not laying around, you can find them pretty cheaply on a Facebook trading post page or Craigslist. How did you build these ones and frame them out?
I did them the same way.
Did them the same way. Which from a building perspective, I know from a usage perspective, the double-decker doors over there are going to be easier to get a shovel in. I'm having tripod trouble. Let's hope this doesn't make anybody seasick. The double-decker doors are much easier to get in, to clean, to get eggs, as the top serves as living quarters and a nesting box. And you build it up a little bit. Those, if you can see in the video, those don't sit right on the ground, so if there's mud and those types of things, you're not going to have a door stuck. Which one was either one more difficult to build or took more materials, the little flaps we did here on retrofitting this rabbit hutch, or the ones you built from scratch?
The one that I built from scratch took more 2x4s.
Took more 2x4s. So was it a lot more time consuming, or just a little bit?
Just a little bit. Not entirely a lot, but a little bit.
If you didn't have scrap wood laying around, how much do you think it would cost? With our rural prices are, I'm sure, much cheaper than people in suburbia. But how much do you think it would cost if you had to buy all the wood? The hardware cloth was $17.99 a roll. Did you use 2 rolls or 3 of hardware cloth? Probably 2. I know we use scraps, so it's hard to figure. Okay, so you'd have $17.99 in the hardware cloth. The latches were about $4 a piece. The hinges were probably 3. And we have 6 latches on it because we have it latched at the top and the bottom for safety. And there's 2 hinges on each door. If you had to buy the lumber to build that, where do you think the cost would come in?
The lumber to build the entire thing would probably cost between $150 to $200.
Well, that isn't too bad. I don't know what sheet metal even goes for. We're still using sheet metal that was left on the property for 100 projects. Any idea what a piece of sheet metal?
With sheet metal, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I'm not
okay,
real
so
sure.
we're not real sure. Now, let's look back here at the hutch that you retrofitted. The little one in the middle, all we did was add a little bit of hardware cloth at the front. So there was really no cost to that one. But you had a little bit more time. I'm going to tilt down here. Of time and effort into this one because of building the door flaps. So if somebody has a rabbit hutch or can find one cheaply on Facebook or Craigslist, how much did it cost in materials? How much hardware cloth did this take? Because we had to pull out the rusty that was inside and put new on the doors and new on the bottom. So we probably used what, a roll?
About
A 24-inch wide hardware cloth. We used 36-inch wide, didn't we? Because that was before the stores around here ran out of the 36. So probably about a roll of hardware cloths. They're $17.99, and we used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolt slide locks. So we had a 2-step lock to keep out any raccoons that make it past our perimeter run here, which is not going to happen. So you probably had $5, $10, $15, $25 max in your hardware, maybe 30 counting the hinges, depending on what they cost in your area. So if you had to buy the lumber to make these flap doors and to connect it to another hutch, if you wanted to, how much would this one cost in lumber to retrofit? If somebody had an old one and had to put the flaps on and maybe replace some top and back boards like we did.
Between $75 to $100.
Well, that isn't too bad. And like rabbit hutches, a lot of them are just hardware cloth and back. Some of them have wood boards. This one had wood boards. They were all rotted, had to be pulled out. The other one just had hardware cloth, which is really not going to give much protection from the elements. So you really want the boards and metal over it. That's going to give them a lot of predator protection and element protection. Let's look behind you, Adam. The only thing we didn't discuss in the video about the run was the door. Sorry for the tripod problems again, folks. Can you explain how we're going to attach the door? There's a picture of the door from the old Coop we're moving, so the folks have an idea of what it looks like and what materials you're working with. How are you going to connect the run to our survival chicken coop using that door?
Whenever I take the door and take the post hole diggers and dig the holes and sink the door, I'm going to bring the chicken wire over to it and completely attach it all the way around it.
With staples?
Yep, and then take a trim board and put over top of that with screws. That way it keeps it in place and keeps it solid.
And we're going to not use both posts off of the door the way it is now, right? You're going to use the hutch itself as one of the posts for the door?
Yeah.
Okay, so that saves a little bit on materials. The door that's down there, if you had to buy one post and put together that door, how much do you think it would cost for the door and one post of pressure treated lumber to make that? Ballpark guess.
$35 to $45.
$35 to $45, and again, you're going to have some hardware costs and some cost in the hardware, the hinges on it, and we use very large hinges on it, bigger than the ones in the Coop, and a larger two-step bolt lock, and we also wrap the hardware cloth around it. It used to be attached with a hook bungee cord, or you could also use a teacup hook. It gives a little extra protection at the bottom. And all together to do this Coop, counting the run, and like I said, we use a lot of salvage materials, but all together on materials, we might have, what, $200 in it?
About that, yeah.
And most preppers, I would imagine, have a lot of scrap wood and some wire laying around their place, so the total cost would depend on how large you're making it and what kind of scrap that you have. We made use of some existing T-post over here because we backed it up to my apothecary patch, which gives a little extra layer of protection on one side for both the patch and the chicken coop, and allowed us to use existing T-posts. And the smaller T-posts are about $4.99 a piece, so that saved us money. We bought 7-foot tall ones here in the front to go down the middle. So you have like a pitched house roof, so in the middle, I at least, as I'm not very tall, can walk straight through without ducking. The only time I have to duck is if I'm bent over dealing with the Coop, which you have to bend over anyway. So we use, what, 4 of the 7-foot tall T-posts? Or we only use 3?
3 in the center.
We used 3 of the 7-foot tall T-posts, and those were $5.99 a piece. About $2 more, you can get an 8-foot tall one if you're tall and want to have more headroom. And then we're going to attach onto the run at the top here the bird netting, double layered, or the chicken wire with zip ties, and it's going to kind of drape over the post in the middle, and we'll attach it to it by taking a zip tie through it and around it as it dangles down a bit. And then Adam, can you explain how we're going to attach our run topper to our rabbit hutch chicken coop?
Whenever we bring it down, instead of attaching it to the front, we're going to bring it down to the back and attach it all the way across the back.
And just staple it on there. Yeah. So we were going to put it behind it a ways and have T-posts. That added extra work, and we had to trench again and more hardware costs, so extra money. Adam and I thought about attaching in the front, but my beloved Bobby suggested in the back that would give us a little more protection. If anything wears down a little bit, the birds aren't going to be messing around and maybe snag on it or anything like that. Which means that the top space can be used for a perch, which in one thought process, that's a good idea. They've got a nice perch to get on, but in two, I'm going to have to hose that off, especially if it's a guinea, since they tend to just poop relentlessly. So you could attach it to the front or the back, or you could go ahead and buy some more posts if you wanted to. This was just a time saver and a space saver.